Hello, everyone. This is RB Jules Barbie. Welcome to another day of 31 Days of All Things Barbie and Pretty and Merry Pinkmas. Today, we're going to be talking about my childhood dolls, my story. And I'm going to be sharing the stories of what I remember about each of these dolls. We're not unboxing anything. Um, these are um, these are not my actual childhood dolls, but these are dolls from my childhood that I wanted to make sure that I have in my collection. Now, I do have um, three of my childhood dolls that need some serious work done on them. And then I will, talk about them. And I may even do the work, so that you can see them as I work on them. But I wanted to share, my dolls um, with you and the ones that I have been collecting and share the story. You may hear the heat in the background, but it is what it is. It is indeed wintertime, so you will probably hear that. And I'm going to share the what I remember about each doll um, in having them and how much fun I actually had with each doll that I got in my collection. Two of the dolls, one you just seen, which was the Fashion Jeans Barbie, we'll get to her, where we restyled a Fashion Jeans Barbie and updated her, and the other Fashion Jeans Barbie, we swapped her body out and made sure everything with her was straight. So we're going to move all the dolls aside, and each doll will stand in the middle, which right now we're going to be talking about. Let's straighten her up because I'm not going to move her around too much because her legs are weak. So let's put Samantha over here a little, and we're going to move Crystal Barbie over so she's not still in the spotlight because it really isn't about her right now. Matter of fact, let me move her over here. And yeah, so this doll right here is my first Barbie, and ironically, she was my absolute first Barbie. I got her when I was 11 years old. That was the first time I ever come in contact with having my own Barbie. And this particular doll, she is complete with the ruffle accessories around her arms and around her neck, and she has on a bodysuit, which I sometimes often doubled as her wearing a swimsuit and the gingham skirt and the shoes. So she is complete. She's 100% complete um, in her outfit. The only thing I don't think I have, I'm not sure, because I've had her now for, I'm going to say 2 years. So I'm not sure if I have her original comb and brush. So, and if I don't, that's fine. Um, but this doll right here, I remember it clearly. I used to get an allowance, like, when I was like 11, stuff like that. I'll get like $20, or if I wanted something special, I could ask for more. But generally, it was like $20, between $20 and $40, uh, every 2 weeks. And of course, I kept my room clean and, helped keep the house clean, cook, wash clothes, and all that. My mother didn't even have to help tell me to do that stuff. I just did it. The only thing I always hated doing was washing dishes. But anyway, so, and my dad, I asked him, can I have the $20? And he said, sure. And my mom was going to go and wash clothes. And her friends, my god aunt, uncle, and her kids, they all came along, and you know, my parents, they partied a lot, so that was the intention after the clothes watching. But my mind wasn't even thinking about that. I really, honestly didn't want them there, but at some point, I really didn't care about them being there because my dad had given me my allowance, and where we washed clothes was in a um, huge shopping center. And I was waiting for this store called GC Murphy's to open. GC Murphy's is the equivalent to like Kmart's and Roses, some kind of store like that. Like Kmart's, Zayre's, stores like that. I know I'm telling my age now because y'all like, who? Zayre's, Bradley's, those kinds of stores. Or even what today would be like Target, Walmart. Yeah, like a Walmart. So would be today. And so I was just watching the clock. And the worst thing you can do as a kid is to watch the clock. It just doesn't ever seem to move fast enough. So, long story short, 10 o'clock hit. And I, because that's the time the stores open, mainly on the East Coast. So I walked to the store. I walked up, up the inside of up to the store in the shopping center, because it was on the same side, and it was maybe like 5 or 6 stores down, and I was 11. So my mother, she trusted me to go to the store and get my doll. She trusted me to walk up there and come back by myself safely. I'll never forget it. It was like summertime morning. It was warm. The sun was out. The sky was blue. And it wasn't a lot of foot traffic. People were still going to work or whatever. And I went in GC Murphy's. I mean, you talk about an 11-year-old doing something with pure intention, having the mindset that this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want. Nothing or no one is going to stop me. So my aunt, she asked me to take my cousins with me. And I'm like, I don't know why they going, because they didn't have any money. And I definitely was not spending any of my allowance money to do anything for them, because nothing was getting between me and Barbie that day, because this was the first Barbie I ever owned. So got to the store, I went directly to where the Barbies were, and they didn't have a huge selection, but they had my first Barbie, and it was like, I know she's plastic in the box or whatever, but it was like our eyes just met, and without a shadow of a doubt, I knew she was it. I knew that this was the Barbie that was coming home with me that day, and she did. Didn't cost much, maybe $10, $11, and I had enough to buy her an outfit, which I did. I think I bought like 1 or 2 outfits, because the outfits didn't cost that much. So I had enough to get some outfits to go with her, and I was elated. And my cousin, because one was a female, one was the male, and they thought that I was going to buy them something, and it was no. It was absolutely no. And my female cousin, she just wailed and cried and wailed and cried and wailed and cried. And, being a child, I didn't care. I did not care at all. And I got back, and I was happy with my doll, and then there was all of this tension and stress and anxiety that I had to deal with, because her mom was putting her responsibility on me to get her a doll, and that wasn't my responsibility. She knew I was going to the store, so it was like, why didn't she give her some money? And of course, her mother was mean to me, and I don't know whether. Well, I told my mother as I've gotten older that she was like that. She would call me names like "you're a bully," this and that and the other, and I really didn't like her, honestly, not as a child. And I tolerated her as I got older because she was my mother's friend. But when it got to the point that I didn't have to be around them, trust me, I didn't. But needless to say, that was my first encounter with Barbie, and I didn't let anybody, no one, or anything get in the way of me having this doll because she was my first interaction with Barbie. So I'm going to tell you the story of the other one that I remember clearly. Uh, the other two, I have vague memories, but I'm going to share what I remember of my encounters when I bought these dolls. So that was my first Barbie, and she was the first one I got, and she started it all. So here's the other one that I got, and how I got her. That's not those are not her original glasses, and she has the same articulation as the other dolls because she was considered a playline doll. And the little she doesn't have like the little flower on her swimsuit, and I think I have her terry cloth towel, which would be a pink rolled up towel, or either, yeah, I think it was, because I don't want to get her mixed up with another doll. And yes, I pierced her ears, and um, these are the shoes that I put on her. These are not the original shoes. They are not Barbie shoes, but those are the shoes that I could find to put on her because she did have shoes just like my first Barbie. So, uh, again, it was a sunny day, and my dad, he always was working on the cars, always working on the cars, and he asked me to go with him to the auto parts store. And I said, sure, I'll go. I was like, can I get a Barbie? He said, sure. So when he went into the auto parts store, there was this store then called Dark Drug Store. It was like CVS. And, back then it wasn't called CVS. It was called People's Drug Store. And then they changed it somewhere in the 80s and 90s to CVS. But it was People's Drug Store. So it was Dark Drug Store, People's Drug Store. And Dark Drug Store was almost just as big as Target is today, depending on where you live. And so I went in Dark Drug with my money. I think had like about $11 because this doll back then was only like $7.99, something like that. And I got this doll. And I was so happy. And my dad, he had gotten the auto parts that he needed. And he worked on, back then you could work on the vehicles in the parking lot by the auto parts place and stuff like that. Things like that. And which he did. And, I sat on top of the car. And he was up under the car. And I sat with my legs folded, and I just sat and played and played and played and played with my doll. Usually, um, going to an auto parts place and someone sitting there fixing on the car would be very boring. But that day I didn't care. I had my Barbie, and I just played with her and played with her. I couldn't wait to get her home, and I had my own, pool that I made out of this real big plastic punch bowl that my mother had, because I didn't have all of those other things like the Barbie pool or dream house. So me not understanding that I was crafty then, I just used what was around me, and I made the best of it. I even used high heel shoes as their cars. I know that may sound so silly, but I did. And they were my high heel shoes because, believe it or not, I didn't dress like a kid when I was a teenager, but I didn't know that I was neurodivergent. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had mental health issues and, disabilities and disorders and things like that. It was never looked into, and it was not because that wasn't because they didn't do those things like that back then. It was because my mother didn't pay that kind of attention. So um, I knew I was different. I knew I was different. Didn't know why I was different. Why everything seemed different. Why everybody was different. I didn't know any of those things. Not until like last year. Of course I've been in therapy, but it's like starting to really understand what was going on, and God directed me to look into certain things, to take online tests for certain things, and taking all that information to my therapist. And it's like now the journey has changed because well, he told me I was neurodivergent, but just really pinpointing and honing in on what that is, that's what we're working on now. But I have a clear understanding myself of what it was because I have two young adults that have autism. One has severe autism, and one has level 2 autism. So I understand where the autism came from, and I also understand where it came from in my parents because it's a hereditary trait. So I clearly understand that what's going on with me. But back then, I knew none of that. So anyway, um, I just enjoyed my dolls, and you know, even though I had the high heels and I dressed pretty much like an adult. 13, 14, I wore heels. I didn't wear jeans and things like that. I always dressed like an adult. My mind, the way I functioned, it was just always different. And I didn't understand it and all those things. But anyway, I took my high heel shoes, and because they were pretty, and they became Barbie's cars. And the punch bowl. And I always could tell these stories and write these stories because I had, the Barbie and the Ken. Only always had the one Ken, but, she became a major part of the story and, the stories that I would create and things like that. So, I definitely remember this doll here. So, next we have Miss Crystal Barbie. It took me a while to remember that I even had this doll. Of course, I knew this was going to happen. Come on, girl. Took me a minute to. Okay, fashion jeans. Come on, girl. Let's stand you back up. There we go. All right. I remember getting her. I remember unboxing her and just so excited that I had a doll that was just so beautiful because her dress was so beautiful. I remember seeing the commercial and I was like, I want this doll right here. And I did. I found her. These are all dolls that I purchased like with my allowance. I never got any of them for like Christmas or anything like that. It seems like during those times when holidays and things like that would come up, my mind would shift. And that's because, I always put up my own Christmas tree starting at age 10. Once my mother knew I could put up a tree, she just stopped putting up Christmas trees, and she didn't really buy gifts. I got clothes, and that was it. And I got some clothes, not a lot of clothes. It was literally just a few things under the tree. And I know people would say, that was the best you can do. I knew what I grew up with. I know the kind of environment I grew up in, the cash flow, and I watched how my parents spent money on themselves. So that wasn't even a question. And my mother told me herself that things were like they were because she was selfish. That's what made me start, becoming an entrepreneur early, doing hair, cosmetology, starting at age 8. That's why I love doing hair, dolls hair, stuff like that. And I continue to do it to make money, to make a lot of money. And I have to, I had to continue, I had to do what I needed to do to make money. You know, um, Sometimes so we could eat. So I always did that. Always did that. So, um, yeah. So I've always bought all of my dolls. Always bought all of my dolls. And I remember adding her to my story, and I, cut my doll's hair and stuff like that to keep up with the latest styles with the snatchback and the feathered looks and all this and that and the other. And my black dolls, the asymmetrical hairdos, that kind of thing. And, the thing with doing with the hair curlers and all of that kind of stuff, I was doing that back then. I was doing it back then. And I still didn't know about the different types of doll hair and stuff like that, but I was doing it even then. So that's what I remember about my crystal Barbie. So let's move her over and let's just bring up Fashion Jeans Barbie. Yeah, she's gonna fall. Y'all, this is a wild video day. I'm here to tell you, but we are going to make this work because you have weird days sometimes. Okay, we see the perfectionism has showed up in the video with us today. So, there we go. Let me push her over a little bit. So, Fashion Jeans Barbie, when I got her, she was so pretty. And she is absolutely complete. This is how she came in her original outfit with the little Barbie, logo, Barbie name on top, her jeans. And they are real denim jeans. And, the poofy, pretty sweater, which they had that back then. And her diamond earrings and her ring and her boots. And, everything. And then you see her little name on her jeans and everything. So, this is exactly how she was. And, man, was I excited when I got her. And I just played with her as well and added her to my story. Now, of course, I didn't lose my friends, but they distanced themselves from me because, I guess we were in junior high school, so, they were into boys and things like that. So they didn't understand, why is she talking about dolls? And I didn't either, I didn't have an explanation or any understanding why I was doing that or why I was like that. But I really didn't care because I was so engrossed in my doll world that, I really didn't care to try to talk to my friends on the phone. And they had gotten to the point where they would talk to each other and be like, don't talk to her on the phone because all she's going to do is talk about dolls. And I didn't care. And my cousin, she was in the picture or had, really into the picture. And I didn't know she was still playing with dolls And she was like around my age as well. We were like 11, 12, 13. Um, I didn't stop playing with dolls until I was 16, but I still kept them. And so, and that happened because my cousin left out of my life. And so I've still been processing a lot of that, um, so that I can still indeed have my dolls and my adult doll play with my dolls and enjoy dressing them and telling stories and things like that. So I'm still processing that. So when she came into my life, it made it a lot easier for me. You know, we've always been in each other's life, but in terms of into my doll world, I absolutely loved it. And we would play with dolls. She would either I was over her house on the weekends or she was over my house on the weekends, and we play with our dolls. We went to the pool or whatever when I was at her house, and she and I would just play with dolls. When she was at my house on the weekends, we would go and get all our snacks, prepare to look at all our favorite shows, and we would just play with dolls for hours and hours and hours every weekend. We would only stop to like eat, go to the bathroom, go to bed, stuff like that. But other than that, yeah. And that went on, for 5 years. But I didn't realize that it was still in me, and I wasn't nowhere near finished. Because there was a lot I had to process, a lot I hadn't dealt with in terms of Barbie. And I've shared the Barbie part of my story, where I shared the same story I'm sharing with you. And a coworker bought me the 1997 um, uh, uh, Black Holiday Barbie. So she bought me that doll, and I shared that doll with you. So, um, so it was a lot that I, just realized that I needed to deal with, and I'm still working through that and building my doll collections and getting more comfortable with my dolls, at least with dressing them, changing their clothes, doing their hair, giving them names, and at least writing a story about them. Now to the part where I enact the story, with them, that will come when I'm ready. And you know, um, I love telling stories and writing stories, so that won't be a problem when that happens. But I just don't want it to feel forced. So it's a lot of stuff that I'm working through and trying to connect with in terms of doll play, because I just want to be happy and enjoying my dolls, you know. Um, and that's pretty much all that I have. We know the story with the other fashion jeans Barbie, the one in the back. So let me just move her over. And she's the one that I bought first. And her neck was cracked. And, I was going to try to do it online, but the stress and anxiety was too great. So I didn't. So I wound up giving her a made to move body. I know her head and her body doesn't match really well because she has like that pinkish peach tone, and her body has more brown in it. But guess what? I don't care. I love who she is, the way she is, and she's just my updated, fashion jeans Barbie, and I'm all right with that. So that's what I have for you today. I just wanted to share my dolls and my doll story. I wanted to share them with you because I am slowly replacing dolls. And it's another doll that I got, and I don't remember when I got her. And the reason why I remember her is because I still have the original pink teddy bear, the little pink teddy bear with the little silver bow tie. So that's the reason why I know that I had her in my life. So I don't quite remember her. And it's 3 other dolls that I have. And it's more. So I will do a part 2, or I will do another segment talking about when I got my childhood dolls and sharing with you, the experiences that I felt when I actually got them, because it was still during that time when I was a teenager. And one I got literally when my son was born, and that was Miko. And that's a whole nother story, and I'll talk to you about that doll later. So that's all I have for you today. Let's get ready for tomorrow. And let's stay fierce and fabulous, and let's sparkle like Barbie.